Hello everyone, welcome back to Dark Souls 2. Today we're going to begin the final path to the final old one. And unlike normal, we're breaking the normal tradition of starting like either at the beginning of the path or at Majula, where we are back in Heide's Tower of Flame. Because there's an area that I've forgotten to show for so long, and it does count as the way there, so it works. The reason I say partially is because this way to the path is this old one is usually the first one a lot of people deal with. Mostly due to the fact that it's basically close by. Or it's usually the first one you meet because its path is usually connected to like the first two areas you can go to, which is either here or the Forest of the Fallen Giants if you've killed the Pursuer Knight. But since we've already have both areas unlocked, I think I'll show, since we already have one of the ways already fully unlocked and everything, I figure I'd show the second place to go to, and, well, basically since it's going to be at the same point, I see no reason afterwards why it shouldn't matter. If that makes any sense. So, with that said, all that out of the way, we're going to just continue to murder ourselves some good old friendly old knights. Because it's not really any different than what we've been doing anyway. Plus, I am loving my new toy. Crypt Black Sword is so good. It's so beautiful. It works so well. It like reminds me of the Moonlight Butterfly, but more corrupted. And unfortunately, less amazing moonlight waves of moonlight. But unfortunately, we will have to deal with that as we go. And the only reason I didn't, and I'm sure people are like, well, if you want the Moonlight Butterfly, Moonlight Sword, why don't you do what you need to do? Because I'll be honest to those people who ask that. I do not want to fight. I am more than willing to fight the rod until I'm blue in the face. That feeling with Freya, on the other hand, no is my answer. Because Freya is silly. Now, I've been completely ignoring a bunch of items, but this is basically mostly just beginning stuff, as well as a halberd of the same guys from these guys, and a few MFGs and whatnot. So we'll just kill this guy. Up here, I believe there is something it's worth checking out after killing that guy, because if you go over here, if you can move fast enough, there is a chest with which, unless I already picked that already before without realizing, this contains the knight armor set, the beginning set from Dark Souls 1, which is kind of cool that it's back, I suppose. And again, most of the armors from beginning armor sets from Dark Souls 1 is still here, and those that aren't are generally changed slightly, if you could say. But matters not, before we're going into this giant hole that enters to more of a interesting cavern system. And basically, we got ourselves a bonfire, and what would actually be ironically, one of the first meetings with Lucatiel. You'd actually be talking to her for the first time if you didn't do what I did. So let's see how she's up to.
Still on the road, are you? Sorry to have burdened you so.
Oh, you're no burden.
This is for you, by way of an apology.
And basically, this is just if you continue her questline, she does give you the Ring of Steel Protection +1. It's basically the same as it's basically still does the same thing, just it will improve your strength as if it was normal. So let's continue to exhaust your dialogue, shall we?
I found my thoughts growing hazy. My memories are fading, oldest first. The curse is doing its work upon me. I am frightened. Terribly so. If everything should fade, what will be left of me? I had an older brother. We learned to fence together. He became the most decorated swordsman in all of Mirror. I never even compared to him. In fact, I never beat him, not once. But then, one day, he was gone. lost without a trace. Now I'm certain that he was taken by the curse.
So yeah, she mentions of her brother, not by name, but more than likely because she's already forgotten the name of her brother, but mentions he is basically the best swordsman of all of Mira, that she isn't yet to defeat it, but we'll let her continue talking, I suppose.
If only someone would hear my tale. My brother must have come here, too. Soon I may forget even about him.
So yeah, it's pretty much assumed that she's came here not only for the same reasons we have, which is find a cure for the curse, but possibly to even find her brother, which we'll meet him later, I suppose. But for now, I'm going to turn human as well, because having that low health is not fun. Plus, I'm sure you guys do not like seeing Voltaire so grisly. Welcome to the No Man's Wharf. This place is interesting. Think of it as like a lag fest. Hello. Okay, one sec. I've had this problem before, so allow me to fix this real quick. Sorry about that. I've just grown a bit paranoid now whenever like my computer starts doing a like freeze frame, because they either syncs my audio or always mean that my footage itself is going to be horrendously ruined. I didn't want to really take any more chances. But going back into this, we now have some new enemies. Meet the Varangians, I believe they are called. Basically, think of them as like Viking-esque pirates in essence. And the only reason they are basically dying to like 1 or 2 shots is because, as before stated, I'm basically pretty overleveled for this area. Like this is typically like either the 2nd or 3rd place you'd visit. Not like on the last old one for you to fight. So yeah, that's needless to say, when most of your enemies consist of nothing but Vikings and hollow soldiers, it's going to be an easy run for you, especially at my level and where we are in terms of the plot. So we're just going to murder these guys very soundlessly. Also, behind these bookshelves is a ring. The Ring of Life Protection, which is a stupidly broken ring, honestly. This ring is basically the ring of sacrifice from Dark Souls. Only difference that separates this from back then is basically you can repair this ring. You can take this ring off without shattering. Basically, you can use it infinitely for the price of like 3,000 souls per death, basically. And as you can tell, we had an old friend of ours, undead dogs. I don't like the undead dogs. They're what I call not fun. And also there is an archer, but we're going to just flat out ignore him. Or we could just do a fun little mechanic in which with this torch, it basically extends our range of sight. So if there's something we couldn't actually see before, because of it being dark, this will brighten our horizons and allow us to see. And over there is basically one of the worst enemies I do not like. These are, I don't really know what they're called. I just called them Spinliard Gimp, freaks of nature. But one good thing about them, they hate light. However, that does not mean that they are completely helpless. For if you just aggravate and like mess with them, they will eventually get over their phobia of light and will try to murder you. My suggestion in that case, kill them very quickly. You might end up thanking me later. And we're going to be going into that building to talk to that man up there, because he's an awesome man. And I want him, and I feel bad that I haven't shown him throughout this entire playthrough, because, again, normally if you go here, you would have met him like progressively normal. But unfortunately for now, I just gotta do this the slightly boring way. Oh, hi! I totally forgot that you drop from the ceiling. So yeah, when you see them do that particular pose when they like start screaming and flailing their arms, usually that means means they've gotten over their phobia of light. So what do? You just kill them like so. I believe there's only just one more up here that's just kind of hiding on his own, so let's just dispose of him quite nicely. And the only reason I am using the Resonant Soul because unfortunately souls do not matter at this point, because usually you can get your souls back very easily for the amount, for like the 100 souls it requires to use them. So before we talk to him, let us open these chests. Both of these have good things. This chest particularly gives you a very good weapon if you're doing strength builds, like Great Sword, basically the Gut Sword from Berserk. And in this chest, which is unfortunately booby trapped, thankfully not with crossbows because those are the worst. And I should not have been poisoned, but we got the Silver Talisman, which I forget what those do. Silver Talismans allow you to basically transform yourself into a random object depending on the area you're in. I think I like the chameleon spell from Dark Souls, but let's talk to this wonderful man.
Who are you? I, Gavlan. Gavlan will, Gavlan deal. Gavlan wants soul. Many, many soul. What you want? With Gavlan, you will, you deal.
You might not be able to see because unfortunately you cannot see my face, but there is a smile on it every time I talk to Losum Gavlan. This man is awesome. Plus, as you can see, he is a merchant that allows us to actually sell our old stuff, anything that we do not need anymore, which is very cool to do. Which I'm just gonna do this on my own. I'm gonna do this. I will probably cut a lot of this out, or just speed it up so you guys don't have to deal with me like dealing with inventory, or I'll just use the services offline more than off-site basically. But there are two places he will move after this, but there's one other place we've already been to, which he will appear back in. He will show up in the Harvest Valley, and then he will show up again in the Doors of Pharaohs, where he will stay there permanently, which is fantastic to keep in mind. So yeah, I'll do all this later. He does sell basically a bunch of poison resistance and poison-based items, as well as the Ring of Poise for the Ring of Giants. So with that, we will just leave him and go. So goodbye, Gavlan!
Many deal, many thanks.
Such a simple man. You can just tell by how happy he is. And on this corpse is a large soul of a lost undead and the Emit Force, which, for those of you who've never played Dark Souls and have used this miracle, you would kind of know what it does. It's pretty fun. Think of it like Wrath of the Gods or the Force miracle, but you could shoot it out of your hands. And that's how cool. This is why I like this sword. Even though I don't have the strength to fully wield it, I can still basically do enough damage naturally. It's so good. But as we come up here, there is a bell, which if we ring this bell, we're gonna call us a ghost ship, because yes. Also, as a cool thing to know about this particular bell, let's see, where were we before? We started off down there or so. If you have a bow and have a very good shot, you can actually hit this bell from all the way back at the beginning of this level, effectively sequence breaking in a slight bit, which is kind of cool to know that you can do that. But oh well, that's neither here nor there. We're just going to continue onwards and downwards to where there are even more of these our little friends, which I'm just going to deal with them very quickly with magic, because this run doesn't matter. I can just swing these hexes to my heart's content. I'll probably go rest of the bonfire before we tackle the boss of this area. But before then, I'll try and take all the secrets that I can and show a native thing that will keep me from having to run back constantly. Because first things first, we're gonna go into this room, this little door. We have some Varangians hiding in, just kind of resting at a table. We've now murdered them. which basically they basically drop their shields, weapons, armor set, and for the scimitar variant, the dual wielding variants, they will drop scimitars, which is good, which is cool. And in this chest gives us an extra S12 shard. We'll be sure to deal with that when we're done. But let's break this wall first, into which we have a crystal lizard. I swear to God, I'm going to murder this guy this time. I will never let another one escape me again. Never. So which we just get more like titanite, which we really don't need for my weapon, really. For this meaty thing. It's beautiful and glorious. Runs on the petrified bones of dragons. And we get ourselves the Royal Soldier's Ring, which is actually a pretty freaking cool ring, honestly. Because this basically maximizes your equipment load. Think of it like Havel's Ring, only slightly cooler. Because it has the Actually, no, who am I kidding? Havel's Ring was actually cooler, because it was like from a freaking bishop wearing armor of stone who crushed you with the tooth of a dragon with his bare hands. Stuff was kind of hardcore, honestly. So basically, before like I said, I'm just going to go this way first, because this way will lead to not only to our shortcut, but will allow me to do some shenanigans as well. Because who doesn't like shenanigans? This sun is Miss Lucatiel's. We will be again once more. I will be using her for the boss. I will be using this for her for the sake of her side quest. But yes, from here we can Excuse me, frame skip. Why did you do that? But basically, we're not far from like where we started, and I'm going to drop down so I don't have to deal with getting horrifically murdered by people. And while I don't suggest this on your first run, because usually if you use this as your starter, because it's usually hello Varangians, you guys seem a bit lost. I guess I should mention that's one thing these guys will kind of do is they will drop little jars of oil on you to make you nice and oily, which also makes you extremely flammable as a byproduct. Which isn't good. No one likes getting set on fire. Certainly not I. Also, I did miss the secret back there, but we'll get that on the way back. But if we open this chest over here, it will give us the brigand set from Dark Souls, the bandit set from Dark Souls, as well as a bandit axe. So as I was saying before, we have a Ferris lock. Usually on your first run, you don't want to use this, but since I have plenty to spare, I'm gonna use it now. To which it opens this massive wall sconce up above, which pretty much illuminates most of the area, and more importantly, sends these little bastards running and hiding. So, yeah, we're gonna continue onwards. Forget what I mentioned before. I lied. I do that a lot, really. It seems. Well, actually, it's less about me lying and more about me changing my mind at the last second. We'll go with that. Also, that guy was trying to ambush us, and the chest he was guarding will give us something pretty cool, which is like some more titanite shards, and more importantly, a repair powder, which I need desperately, because having things to, being able to use the sword more is good. Also, there's a secret door right here, which is very cool, and I believe it gives you more titanite, and I believe some large titanite as well, and there might be something else that I'm missing. As well as fire bombs. That's it. You need more fire to clearly blow things up with fire. Because that's totally what I'm all about. Not in this case. So yes, with those little... Even they will still, like, retreat to the, like... I do like these guys, because they are pretty silly, honestly. Or at least once you get them to the point where they are, like, afraid of the fire. Unlike this guy. And basically, as you saw there, they hit pretty hard, and they can bleed you out. Which I'm glad I killed him, because no one likes getting bled out. I know I don't. And on this boat, we have ourselves a human effigy and some life gems. Yay! Also, a sneaky Bavarian is not so sneaky as he thinks he is. even less so with these wonderful friends. Let's just deal with them accordingly, eh? To which, if you can strike directly on them before they can get up, they basically just fall to their dooms like so. Silly people. However, before we go on, get ourselves up on that ship, I'm gonna go up here so we can talk to this old man who seems to be here out of nowhere. See, address yourself, old man.
I sense power. Very well. From this day, you shall be my new pupil. I am Carillion of the Fold. Surely you've heard the name. Now, do not be afraid. Let us explore the limits of sorcery.
So yes, this is the old man. This is the teacher that Rosebeth mentioned. He is basically the equivalency of Logan. He is basically Big Heck Logan of this game, minus the improbably cool hat. And this is also where you would get the basic version of the ring I possess, the clear bluestone ring. And he sells his own versions of some interesting and cool stuff. He also sells a bunch of herbs, which, those herbs, I'm going to buy all of them, because they look delicious. And he also sells a bunch of sorceries, which I'm not going to use at all. So we're just going to leave them be.
Do not take my teachings lightly.
Goodbye, old man. Now, unlike most NPCs in which I say exhaust all the dialogue so you can know about them, he's a bit different. He will move to Majula, but we don't have to worry about, exhausting his dialogue for that to happen. He's gonna just sort of do that on his own, so to say. But as we get onto this ship, we have ourselves just maybe like a few Varangians left. Not a whole lot left of the skeleton crew. But I suppose as a fun fact, these are basically Vikings. They're sort of like sea raiders. They were fearsome sea raiders of the north. Unfortunately, Vendrick got rid of their nonsense and basically sort of put them to work, so to say, on this ship. There's some significance to this ship. Sort of a lot of bad things went down with this ship. We'll explain why. But first, because if we go down below and below the deck, there's our boss. But before I tackle that, I'll be right back over into the spot so we can with Miss Lucatiel. So do give me a quick second. And we are back with Miss Lucatiel in tow. So without further delay, I give you guys prepare to get out of here. Recording you forward. Welcome to the Flexile Sentry. A pair of conjoined. This is an interesting boss. It's basically a sort of a DPS race in disguise. It's basically a pair of conjoined twins, basically. One that's faster, one that's slower, one that's armored, and the other one there's not. And I am basically going to just utterly destroy it. We're going to basically completely wreck this guy. Because, again, I'm pretty over level for this encounter. Plus, with the Murmur of Dark that I have, Whispers of Despair on him, he's even weaker. If you were to fight this guy at a normal time, he's actually a pretty fun fight. He has some cool moves. Plus, when the water does rise as the fight goes on, to the point where it's at your waist, and you're very slow, and he can easily catch up to you and start abusing you until you bleed out like a pig. And for killing him, we basically get his soul. Soul of the Flexile Demon, which Flexile Sentry is a merciless creature whose purpose is to punch the undead. Unfortunately, he will not be punching anymore now since we've put him into permanent retirement. I'll be upgrading later on, but first, we get a chest for our efforts, which, and I'm sure some people are very happy to see this, but for killing him, you acquire the Pyromancy Flame and the Fireball. It's basically basic stuff. And I think with that calls the end of the session. So next time, next time, you'll get to see this. To our new area awaits.